I love Mike Hanson Archives.
Great country with greed and their unquenchable thirst for power, destruction of tradition, honor, country, family. Yes, my fellow Americans, it is a sad day for America, but never fear, for I am here, the spin doctor, Alex Jones. We will defeat government. We will restore freedom to the people of America, or liberty and the free market system will perish. Government is dangerous. I'll give you the real spin on what's happening to us, and we're going to come out of this victorious on the other side. I'm Alex Jones. This is The Real Spin.
Yes, I'm Alex Jones. This is The Real Spin. This evening we'll be going for an hour and a half as usual till 10:30 p.m. I would invite you to stay through the entire program. I'll have a guest here later. He's actually here, but he'll be joining us in just a few minutes. Brian Lynch. He's an engineer here in town, and he's also the host of another access television program, Frontiers, which a lot of you have probably seen. It's one of the programs I hear about. Well, yesterday, I have to do this to start. I won't do this too many times, but I have to. Waco, the Rules of Engagement at Dobie Mall at UT. Go see it. Shows the FBI setting the place on fire, and it doesn't paint the Davidians in a perfect light. I got some calls on my comment line last night saying, "Oh, I see you support that pedophile, David Koresh." No, I didn't support what he did or what the media said he did, any more than do I support Janet Reno having them pump in a highly flammable tear gas and then burning the children to death once they set it on fire. So what's worse, what he did or burn the place down on fire? But it doesn't matter. The media tries to connect the two, and then the little servant brainwashed people out there pick it up, and then when I stand up against police brutality or a civil rights nightmare or a Bill of Rights nightmare, I am called an extremist, and that's what I expect from the lackeys that are just brainwashed pieces of crap. I'm sorry. And again, I don't even claim to be that smart of a person. I catch a lot of flack for knocking people, going after people, calling them names, because you scare me out there. You're so stupid. And I used to think I was stupid. But as time goes on, I find, hey, I might have half a brain on my shoulders. I mean, look, people love to be manipulated. They love for the media to soothe them and create this false reality for them as they go dancing down to the slaughter like a bunch of sheep. That's what we're talking about this evening. Now, first I want to declare something. We are victorious. And I'll do this later in the program as the audience builds. We are victorious. Big government has to lie now. Used to, big government sold itself as big government and said it'll be great. Now we see it fails. It destroys entire economies, destroys inner cities, destroys the suburbs, destroys the country, destroys everything, destroys incentive, is a literal rot on this country. Now they repackage it with the best, best spin doctors, the best propagandists that have ever been seen, but it isn't working. People are starting to wake up. Even Bill Clinton, the giant welfare pimp, is claiming he's for reforming it and at the same time trying to increase it. But it's great because government's growing faster and faster. Let it. Sure, we can't stop it right now, but once it all crumbles, once everybody finally sees it doesn't work and all the hype and all the lies wash down the drain and the media is totally shown, to be a corrupt institution, totally backing up corrupt interest, then we can start rebuilding. And I'm not saying we're going to have a utopia or something's going to be perfect. Absolutely not. But at least people will start questioning a little bit more. So, again, that's what we're talking about this evening. A lot of different information. We've got a packed program. Brian, I appreciate you being here.
Alex, good to be here.
Good to see you, man.
All right. Quite an introduction. I had never seen that part from Independence Day before.
We'll play it again. Most people tune in, like after the show starts. I've kind of found it's kind of a channel surfing thing with Access Television. And so, yes, most people, that's why my show is an hour and a half, because I've noticed I build audience as I go. So we'll probably show that Independence thing later at the end because it's pretty interesting.
You mentioned a couple things earlier. One is the way the media controls and manipulates people. You've got to remember that the media is the communications vehicle for the power structure.
They're the mouthpiece.
Well, of course. You look at who finances the media corporations, you look who finances the media programming, and it is the same big 100 or 200 corporations, and you've got a kind of overstructure of large corporations in this country and large banks that are all interlocked to their directorates. So they're kind of like a big country club that runs the country, and the rest of us are supposed to be little peasants and just do their bidding.
Let me ask you a quick question.
Yeah.
Why then does the media always tell us that they're that they're watching out for interest and keeping those bad corporations off our backs, and they're the loving people. And no one ever looks at the facts. And again, I'm not knocking the free market. What we're getting now is where a few dominant corporations control our lives and run out the other small corporations.
Well, big business has always been the enemy of small business, and you see this in the congressional battles where big business was all for Bill Clinton's health plan.
They're always for more regulation.
They were for more regulation. They're for more taxes. They supported the COLA increases that went through the Congress back in the 80s because big corporations are not labor intensive. And so things that drive up the cost of labor, drive up the barriers to entry in an industry through regulation, taxation, and some of the other things that are used in business, are used by government, actually work to the interests of big business, but they will kill small business. It'll make the hurdle that a business has to jump over higher.
Small business is the problem. Those are the greedy people hurting the good people.
Well, that's just that liberal crap that you hear from the academics who are also whores of the establishment.
And how are they whores?
Well, they're whores. They're the intellectual. They provide the intellectual rationale for what the power structure wants to do.
And the power structure
UT is a perfect example. It's an absolutely textbook case of a laboratory of liars and people who are just whores to the establishment, chasing, as you say, after government grant money, and then intellectualizing all of the stuff the establishment tries to do to people in this country.
Making excuses for all the corruption.
That's right. They protect the power structure.
I can't do that enough, and that's just how they act. And then places like ACC, I'm not saying everybody there, but ACC is like a breeding ground for that. It's like you prove that you're an establishment lackey, toad servant, and then we let you graduate on through the ranks.
Actually, I don't think it quite works that way. If you look at where the people in the large institutions that set the agenda for the other institutions come from, they come from the upper class, and they come through channels where they are legitimized by the upper class. This is Bill Clinton's story. He was white trash in Arkansas, and
but he wouldn't
somebody looked at him and said, "This guy
Madeleine Albright
will do." No, it was Senator Fulbright.
But I mean, later Madeleine Albright, when he went to Georgetown, you know, he claims that she's the one that gave him the start, pushed him forward, and they recognized in him
They recognized that he could lie and have no regrets. They recognized that his lust was for power.
He was a vessel.
He lusted for power, and they could use that to make sure that he did their bidding. And if you look at where he is in office today, he is thoroughly corrupt. He's got a legal history that would put anybody else in jail, but he's protected by the power structure.
New York
and
Times.
It's not just the New York Times, it's protected by big
ABC.
banking, he's protected by the media, he's protected by all the academic liberals, he's protected by
both pharmaceutical and corrupt drug interest.
Well, that's the bankers.
No, we're coincidence theory. I mean, we're extremists. Nothing ever. I'll stop being sarcastic. How do we counter people out there? I talk to them all the time. They will not think that anybody has any subterfuge, that any secret thing is going on. It's not even secret now. It's out in the open. Anybody that knows business, has been in business, knows this is the way the world works. But everybody else just wants to say, no, I'm not supposed to ask any questions in my life. I'm just supposed to believe the news and just lay down and believe my professor and get into being a servant.
Well, that's how the establishment has always channeled people in this country. You know, the public schools were developed on theories from Germany and largely Bismarck, who said that this will unify the nation. Everybody will learn what the government directs them to learn. That way you won't have the intellectual diversity and you won't have the political diversity. It makes people a lot easier to govern. And we're going to keep people in school all through the age where they are normally curious and normally would go out on their own and maybe investigate things that are somewhat taboo. But we're going to keep them learning only what the establishment wants them to learn.
Well, it's better than that. What the establishment teaches people is nothing. You just go in and it's boring. People throw spit wads and the fad's cool. And Channel 1 satellite TV beams in a little 14-minute brainwash cast with a couple Skittles commercials.
Well, it's actually a little bit more subtle than that. That's true in the public schools that the average person goes to. But if you look at where the Chelsea Clintons of the country go, if you look at where the upper class goes, these are generally schools where they don't have that kind of boring rote learning.
Yeah.
And there's a very different education for those people.
Well, I'll tell you,
because those people are expected to run the country or be ready to run the country. They're not expected to be serfs.
What do they teach them? They're dangerous people. We've got to be together. We've got to stand against these
Well, they
dangers.
teach not quite. It's not that blatant. It's very
so it's
subtle.
you're loving. The good people do this.
This is what you have to do to lead people.
Because people don't know how to lead themselves.
Right.
They
And this is the attitude that is communicated through the establishment: is that you people need to be led. You people need to be shown how to do things. This is the theory on which the welfare system operates. You know, that blacks and poor people are too stupid to make it on their own, so
I
they
wanna
have to
say
have a
something.
government bureaucracy.
I see your program as being pro-Hispanic, pro-African-American, pro-white, pro-whoever, pro-Jewish, pro-all groups. But I've taught people about your show on the street, and a lot of people say, oh, he's just a racist. It's like nowadays, if you even talk about other issues, then you are immediately called an extremist. You are gone after. And it's like there's certain giant realms. There are certain giant realms that we are not even allowed to talk about. And that's the scary part. The establishment, the so-called liberals that want to, be our mommies and our daddies and be our caregivers, get rid of the parents and let the state be the caregiver. That's Hillary Clinton's new doublespeak there. They are the racists. They want to put the blacks on the plantation. They want to put the whites on the plantation. They want to put us all on a government plantation, people, and that's what they're doing. Half of everything or more now is government, and everything else has government tentacles all around it. The ship's going down, and this happens all over the world all the time, and it destroys productivity, it destroys commerce, it destroys the fabric of society, it destroys the spiritual fabric, everything. We've got to do something now.
Well, one of the persistent myths is that capitalism has somehow triumphed. And it is true that globally, market-based economics is probably in the ascendancy. But
that's only for the dominant thug groups.
That's only for the large corporations.
The dominant thug groups.
What we have also in this country, at the same time that relatively conservative economic principles seem to be operating on a macroeconomic scale, we see that the culture has actually been pushed very far to the left. We have Marxist theory in the women's groups, in the gay groups, and the reason they've all adopted Marxist paradigms to attack society is that Marxism and communism were recognized back in the 1800s as very effective ways to destroy and undermine societies. This was Lenin's theory when he read what Marx had to say.
You have to destroy and then rebuild,
right,
reconstitute.
But the first thing you must do is you must destroy the existing order. And you must create chaos.
But really, it is the existing order only wishes to heighten and accentuate its power, in my opinion, and thus uses these people as a manipulated groups. And I don't want to put them all in the same groups, but all of us are manipulated to one degree or another. It's like, how do we know it? I forget the writer, but this female writer wrote, how do we know we're wet when we've been swimming our whole lives? We don't even know that we're in this. We're immersed in these lies, and to even that's the new language. You're not supposed to talk about anything. You're not supposed to ask any questions. Just have the so-called in the know handed to you daily.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of that, and I don't think it's quite as overt as you make it sound.
I think
it's very subtle.
Well, subtlety is power. Subtlety is it's gradualism. It's something you don't notice. So to me, I would consider somebody coming up in my face and saying, "We're going to take over. In 20 years, we're going to have a 100% tax bracket. This country is going to be totally controlled by foreign interest, and prepare yourself for it. And if you talk out, you'll be killed or sent to a slave labor camp like in China or anywhere else. But if you serve, you might have a good chance in the system." I might say, I can respect you, and I'm going to try to defeat you. But to me, it's much more powerful and much more dangerous when it's just all, aren't you loving? What's wrong? Just endless crap.
Well,
with all these smiling politicians from the local level all the way to the state to the national, are all really undermining our sovereignty.
Of course they are. Look at what the politicians have done to this country. They've run us $5 trillion into debt nationally.
$5 trillion, $300
That's
billion.
the federal debt.
That's not the
Now
state
there's
and local.
the state and local debt.
Look at Orange County.
That's another $3.5 trillion.
Orange County, California.
Right. And
Billions.
look at Austin, Texas. Right now we had a chance to vote down $38 million more in bond indebtedness on Saturday, but the people voted to indebt themselves.
But it's always got a little tag on it, like, well, we've got to vote for these bonds because the EMS and the police can't communicate. Well,
that's baloney.
That's the first.
That's the first thing the government is supposed to be doing. Those are the basic services that people expect out of the government. And what they're saying is, we are not going to give you the basic services. We're going to make you beg for them. We're going to spend the money on ourselves, waste it on our bureaucracy. We're going to not fix the potholes on the road. We're not going to provide EMS. We're not going to provide police. We're not going to provide fire protection. Instead, we're going to waste money building big offices for ourselves, paying ourselves big salaries while we shuffle paper and take vacations. And that's what the message of the city of Austin is.
Powerful. It's true.
And that is the message in the federal government. In fact, it's the message in just about every level of government.
And you go back to Karl Marx and people like that who I think were evil men, but there was even more truth in their documents about what they said. They said
Karl Marx was honest enough to say what he was all about, and Lenin was too. I mean, whether you like him or not.
And they stated in their writings, which I've read, which are very to the point, that communism might not work at first, but as soon as industrialization and information got to a certain level, there'll be so many goods and services that it will allow this system to come into fruition. So what? If there's so many goods and services, so what if people only get 5% of what they make? It'll be enough to buy the hamburgers and the little dive where they live, and they can go watch some entertainment at the circus. Bread and circus.
The key to communism is who controls the distribution of wealth.
You got it.
And it may be that people only keep 5% of what they get, but they can get it redistributed back to them if they serve the system.
Oh, well,
and that
like
was the big appeal. No, the big appeal of communism is they say from each according to his ability, to each according to his need. Everybody says, well, I've just decided my ability isn't all that great, but my needs sure are. And what happened in Russia is the people stopped working. They stopped producing.
Stalin. He had
Look at the difference between North and South Korea.
I know, use this.
I mean, it's a perfect example. North Korea is literally a starving, backwards, third world country because of their communist government. And the South Koreans are a fairly prosperous economy. It's probably not as good as this country.
It's awesome.
But it is a very prosperous economy compared to just about any other country in the Western Hemisphere.
That's the truth. And I use that example over and over, but then it doesn't matter. These people that have been I can just hear the Harvard education or the Yale education or the Georgetown education or the Berkeley education or the UT education speaking when they just say, yes, but how can you say what's set? How can you say? See, they tell us never to have an opinion, but they're going to have their opinions. They're going to set their agenda. We are not intellectually sound if we ever come to to any form of decision.
The purpose of this media, not just Time Magazine, but the major media,
is to pacify
is to set the boundaries for acceptable thought. They are the people who frame debate in this country.
This is a soft soak. What's wrong at the FBI? It's more than what's wrong. They act like...
Well, if you actually read the article concludes, well, nothing's really wrong at the FBI.
That's right.
This is just some temporary stuff. It's just some bad news, but don't worry, the
we
FBI
don't need to clean
is
the house
sound.
or anything.
The government is fine. Janet Reno's doing a wonderful job, and Bill Clinton's got everything under control, so don't really worry about it.
That's right. Everything's good at the FBI.
If you read that article carefully, that is the message, that really nothing's wrong at the FBI.
So they ask the question. They say, what's wrong with the FBI? You look in there, and it says, there's no connection between Louis Freeh, the director of the FBI, and Clinton. That's a lie. Clinton appointed him. And all these interconnections soothing you, saying, well, sure, there's some films coming out that show some stuff, and sure, the FBI wants these wiretaps, and sure, they're doing this, and sure, they're giving more and more money, more and more federal control over local police departments, but that's okay because we care about you a lot, and it's okay. Go to bed tonight. You heard some stuff about the FBI. We've answered your questions. Let's take some calls.
All right.
Hello, you're on the air. How you doing?
Maybe they're not on the air.
Speak up. Let's go to the next call. Hello, you're on there.
Hello.
How's it going?
How's it going, Alex?
Pretty good, man.
All right. I just want to call and commend you on the work you're doing. I think you got a lot of cojones.
Appreciate it.
One thing I've been listening to your show for the last year. I've been in office for a year. I think it's really great. But
That's how long I've been doing the shows, about a year.
You don't talk about solutions.
I hear that a lot. What is the solution? See,
the solution to what, though?
Well, hold on one second. This is something I get every night now. This is something I get every night, and I've got to answer this.
Okay.
He's exactly right. Brian's exactly right. Okay, I come in here. The media doesn't tell you the problem. They try to pacify you and make you lay down and make you sleep, make you not be conscious, make you not think about things because it's not popular to actually think about real issues. What you've got to understand is that the problems are so complex, it takes us individually starting to realize that the media, I'm giving you a solution, is not in your best interest generally, and they are totally corrupt, and they are totally a mouthpiece of the establishment. But past that,
I agree.
What is the solution? It's very simple. When Kirk Watson gets up there and smiles at you and runs for mayor, people ought to say, we should not elect another trial lawyer to be our mayor. We should not
believe it.
Hold on, and he sits there and he smiles at you with this fake smile all day. The guy's going to do nothing but pass more and more bond elections for more and more money to go out of this city, out of this state, back to New York, back to Boston. The guy is a total toad of the establishment, and I use that word all the time because that's what they are. They're little.
Well, why do you think he was able to get the $750,000 to run against Ronnie Reynolds in the first place? It's because those bankers who backed him and the law groups that backed him said, we are going to make a killing off the people of Austin
We're going to bleed
if we get this guy elected.
And he's going to tell us the whole time we're loving because
the mayor's job only pays $30,000 a year. I don't know if you're aware of that. And these guys are spending $750,000 to get in there, and you say, well, wait a minute. For whom is it worth $750,000?
And you notice the Osberger Statesman, I knew he was going to win 6 months ago.
Of course
when I first started hearing his name. Because why? Even before he'd announced. Because the media was saying, hey, this guy's real nice. Because Osberger Statesman is totally behind him. But something I want to say real fast. The people out there, you want solutions? That's the new thing with the media. ABC's got solutions. Tune in out for solutions. CBS has got, such and such on your side. Or, they've all got their own slogan. Tune in, get the answers from them. And what is their answer? It's always real subtly, big government's the key. If you're,
more government programs.
More
if
government.
we just pay a few more dollars in taxes, we can have a wonderful new program, and that will solve our problems.
I don't like to watch CNN or C-SPAN, any of that anymore. I just know it's just a whole bunch of whatever.
Well, CNN, you know what the story on CNN is? This is a rumor. I don't know if it's true or not, but they say that if Ted Turner doesn't put out a bunch of left-wing garbage every day, that Jane Fonda won't give him anything at night.
Well, I don't know what the deal is.
I don't know if that's true or not, but I thought it was a great rumor.
I hear you. Jane Fonda. Jane Fonda is a known communist. This is not McCarthy-esque BS. She went to Hanoi 2 separate times and praised the North Vietnamese that were torturing our people to death.
Some people might not remember that, but I sure know about it.
Sure. Well, but I mean, listen to this though. Now, here's the psychotic thing about her. Here's the oxymoron. This woman is worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Her father and her mother were huge actors and actresses. She's very rich. She's married to a man who controls one of the biggest communications companies and systems in the world with phone systems, owns this cable system, Time Warner. He's a majority stockholder in Time Warner. So think about that. Here she is, filthy rich, all this power, but it isn't an oxymoron. That's why she's a communist, because anybody who knows communism is a tool of the elite. It means a new form of kings, a new monarchy, a few corrupt groups. So Jane Fonda is your enemy. She's a sickening mess.
Society,
just because she cloaks herself in a feminist robe, just because she cloaks herself in a...
No, in a communist society, less than 5% of the people generally control the country.
You got it. These people got to be stopped.
Hey, I'm sorry. We're probably going to have to move on. It sounds like you've got some interesting points.
Good luck to you on everything.
Listen, I appreciate you watching the program, sir.
All right, later.
Get alive.
Well, hey, call back and tell me how to get a life. Let's go another caller.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Pretty good.
Hi.
Is it okay to call you the Copperfield brothers?
Sure. Call us whatever you feel like.
Well, I mean that as a compliment because you're full of magic and you guys are great. But you're full of fire and brimstone. And you offer a lot of complaints and you bring a lot of gripe to the table. But I'm not going to use that word solution. But you talk about the local government and the establishment. And you regurgitate a lot of words and phrases that you've read in a few books. But what are the answers? I mean,
what are they? Let's have this guy give us one.
I'm Mayor-elect Kirk Watson. I've got solutions. Green belts for the children and everything.
What is your solution?
My solution? Pick a topic, and I'll give you a solution. You can't even tell me what's going on in the city council meeting right now. It's underway this very night.
Okay, tell us what's going on.
Well, we're talking about some police walking beats that are underway. That's one topic they just wrapped up. They're talking about funding for the Center City Project, the community center on the east side. You don't even talk about the issues of the day. You regurgitate some quick little
you said
phrases
regurgitate 3 times
with no solutions, and you're about to hang up because you can't deliver an honest debate on the issues.
Let me counter you. You've thrown out a few good things about always the youth, the children. That's an important buzzword. There's some police protecting us. police on the beat. I've said on this program we need more police out of their cars. We need more of them on the beat. I've said that about 55 times. So I've ventured that solution. So he's told us about protection. That's one little primitive buzzword. And the children and the poor. All the favorite little things that we're kind of against that because he espouses it and we're not espousing it. The majority of our money now is going out of the city to the big bond banks. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about the power that none of this crap that you think is so important never tells you about.
It takes money to run a city.
Yeah, right. Well, let me ask you a
Where
question.
do you think $1.2 billion a year goes?
Yeah, friend.
Have you seen how much money we're
Government's
spending?
growing. It hasn't stopped.
It takes a lot to run an electric utility department, a police
Everything
force,
in 19
EMS,
years.
constables, and a police force here in town.
No, it doesn't.
It
It
takes
goes
a lot
into
of
the
money to run those
Environmental
departments.
Hold on.
Conservation
That goes back to what we
Department.
said. They told us at the last bond election that thanks for the call, sir. They told us at the last bond election, I recognize his voice. I like it when media personalities call in.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something, sir. Let me tell you. This just means we're starting to hit some buttons here. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something straight to your face. Just like Brian Lynch just said, and it's totally poignant. They told us that the police cars and the EMS couldn't communicate and the fire couldn't communicate because we weren't giving enough money to the city and that we never can fix the potholes because there's not enough money going to the city. They don't do the most base things like protecting kids, like executing criminals. That's all part of this
that's
plan.
not part of the city.
Well, I understand. I know that's state and national. But it goes on past that, Brian. And I've got to get this point out.
Okay.
I've got to get this point out. Look at how it works at the base level. 1964, they get rid of the death penalty. What happens? Crime explodes. People like Kenneth I. McDuff. I'm back to this.
It's more than just getting rid of the death
It's
penalty.
destroying the system.
It was a whole set of liberal reforms.
it takes
that said
away accountability.
The criminals were not accountable
It takes
for their
away
acts.
accountability. It destroys economies.
Right. It said the criminals are not responsible.
Tell you what, when the city
society is responsible, and when they say society is responsible, that's you. Now, if you think you're responsible for all the murders in this country, go sit in an electric chair.
Hey, listen, look at all the look at all the government buildings. And I used to work for a print shop about 4 years ago, and I used to deliver these packages. The government buildings were all just marble, real marble. I mean, these places had hundreds of millions of dollars of crap in them, and these bureaucrats were sitting there throwing spit wads against the wall, doing absolutely nothing. And then you see a few slobs getting paid nothing who can barely fill potholes. We need to start filling those, like you said, the basic things. But he's going to claim that if we're against government, we're against the children. It's the same system. We're against the children. We're against the women. We're against the minorities. We're against this. We're against that. No, I'm for the women. I'm for the children. I'm for the minorities. I want freedom. I don't want to see these poverty pimps go in anymore and destroy inner city economies and say, well, you can't have businesses, and by the way, you can't have a man in the house, women, but have all the kids you can, so we'll have more people to put in prison, so we have excuses to build prisons, to have a police state. Don't you see how the whole corrupt system works? Let's go to another call. I'm getting angry here.
Yeah, I can tell.
Hello, you're on the air. They're full of crap. You're on the air.
Hello, Alex.
How you doing?
Yeah, great. Hey, listen, I watch your show all the time, but you're making one small mistake right now that's giving some of your viewers the wrong impression.
I get angry because I'm threatened by them.
Well, let me explain. Let me clarify. The mistake is this. The battle is not between liberal and conservative.
You're right.
What that is a false impression that the enemy that you're talking about wants to create. They
I
want
agree.
to foment confusion. And
I
the
don't
battle
think we've
is
even
between
mentioned
right and
liberals
wrong,
and
not right and
conservatives.
left. And that's all I have to say about that.
Well, go ahead, sir. Say some more. All
I
right.
don't think we've even mentioned liberals and conservatives.
Well, we've
so-
said liberal about 100 times, but again, that's a false liberal.
Well, when I
I'm
say
a real
liberal, no, when I say liberal, I think people understand that this means a person who's for an expansion of state power, a person who's for redistribution of wealth, not creation of wealth.
Radically egalitarian.
A person who is radically egalitarian, a person who is not interested in the traditional values that made this country great, not interested in thrift, hard work, and all that kind of stuff, not interested in traditional families, interested in all these weird new experimental
Hold on 1 second.
families.
What about Benjamin? Well, exactly. You see the state really moving into a mode of, again, caregiver. Hillary Clinton. It takes a
Hillary Clinton's village people are
Yeah.
going to care for your children.
That's right. What they want
of
is they want to get the parents out of there like that's what the communists did, Hitler did. Any corrupt system has to take the parents out, and the state really wants your children.
It's because the homes
They're
are
Hitler Youth.
private. It's because the homes are a rival to the government.
There's power there.
The children are with the parents, not with the state. So what you do is you put them in state institutions, government-run daycare centers, put them in Head Start programs, and you put them in a mode where they are used to getting told what to do every day by the government.
This sounds like BS, but my last year in high school.
No, it's working, and because look at what's happened in the inner cities.
5 or 6 years
Every
ago.
single person in the inner cities is now totally dependent on government.
5 or 6 years ago, when I was in high school, they had this computer system, and you go in and they ask these questions, and they tell you what you should be. The next step of that, step is, and exactly, it's just like 1984, George Orwell. The next step, literally, they want to get people on fast track, they call it, where you decide, and they've got different curriculums in high school. You're going to be a janitor, you're going to be a jet pilot, so on. You're going to be in the military. Literally, that's their plan. It is a slave model, and this is real. So I say to those people out there, that caller made a really, really good point, and he's called my comment line, and let's put the comment line up for any comments. He's absolutely right. We need liberal to me. I am a real liberal. I believe in people liberally living, not having someone tell them what to do until they. I'm a libertarian. I believe that we should leave somebody alone until they hurt somebody else. It's a mutual aggression truce. When you hit somebody else first, then you should pay. And that's only law we need.
Actually, classical liberalism was concerned with expanding your range of experiences.
That's it.
And exposing you to things that would help you get a better worldview, a broader worldview.
And now they want to just funnel us into things. But since liberal in this culture does now mean government slave or government slave system servant, you got it. Let's go to a caller.
Evening, gentlemen.
How you doing?
Hello.
Fine. I share a lot of your sentiments. I really appreciate that you're on the air and doing what you're doing.
Thanks.
I'm near being depressed over the way things are going. I share your anger, Alex. But I'm getting to the point where I'm burnt out on the anger, and I'm getting depressed because this past election cycle here for the city, for instance, I think we had 15% turnout of eligible voters.
You mean Kirk Watson that looks just like this? Let's get a close shot in there, and I'll show you Kirk Watson. And I'm going to show you a film later where I do an imitation of Kirk Watson. He smiles at us, and he talks about bike trails.
You got to shave a lot more hair off, Alex.
That's right. Here. I'm losing some of it here. Just,
Yeah.
I just, he cares. He smiles.
Hey, the guy learned a used car salesman routine from Bill Clinton.
He looks just like Bill Clinton.
Now, when you mention Bill Clinton, guys, the one thing about Bill Clinton that disturbs me is that he seems to have set a pattern at work in Britain with this latest election of Tony Blair. We seem to have a whole new crop of play-pretend conservatives. They tell us what we want to hear. We get them into office, and what's going to happen in Britain.
More socialism.
And we're going to have it more here. We have some here in our state house up here. One particular senator from San Antonio that betrayed the NRA, and people trying to defend our Second Amendment rights.
You're an extremist. You want to hurt somebody.
Lady named Shapiro.
No, sir.
And,
if we get rid of guns, we'll be safe. Just like when Hitler in '33 took up all the guns, the people were safe. If we would just do like Adolf Hitler did and become smart and take the guns up like Bill Clinton wants to, of course I'm being sarcastic, somebody would call me a Nazi tomorrow, if we would just take the guns, we'd be safe from the government and safe from the criminals, because as soon as they pass a law, criminals will stop carrying guns and quit breaking into our houses, and the government has never been a problem anywhere in the world, and they haven't built large concentration camps all over the country called urban warfare training centers. So, policer, you talk with a Texas accent, and you're for the Second Amendment, you probably don't even have an education, you probably haven't been around the world. I think you're dangerous if you would just...
Well, I tell you, I've followed the voting records of people like Terry Keel, who is a Republican, and you would think that he's conservative, but he voted with people who wanted to see to it that gun ranges have more liabilities against them. They can be harassed by city ordinances when the gun range has been there for years and people build homes around it, the people in those homes
Wait a minute, you got a Second Amendment. Wait, you got a Second Amendment. You can have a gun anywhere you want as long as it's not on this planet. That's where we're headed. You can have your gun as long as you're on Mars or something.
No, actually, it's worse than that. You can have a gun as long as you work for the government.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at what's happening around the country,
they're arming all the agencies.
Every agency. I was just shocked. Even park rangers are being armed
with machine guns,
with semi-automatic weapons, and they're not just pistols. And you have to wonder what the hell is going on
here.
Good
land's got to be guarded, boy.
Well, damn right. And it's got to be guarded from all that rabble like us out here. And so what you've got is you've got the government arming itself to the teeth while it's disarming the citizens in this country.
Yes, I don't. Have you noticed?
Can you imagine the outcry that you'd get from the media if you tried to put the same restrictions on the First Amendment that they're trying to put on the Second Amendment?
I agree with you. Have you taken notice
they use
as well
to get rid of the First Amendment?
The big hurry that conservative state leaders, Representative my own Harvey Hildebrand, his office, they're in a big hurry to try and give federal police the right to intervene in state crimes. I can't. I'm to the point of being depressed over it because we elect these people.
Gestapo-esque.
These people have run with NRA backing and conservative backing. They get into office, and something up there happens between the granite walls that makes them just forget us, just leave us, and they're up there for their 2 years, and we can't stop it. And I don't know what else to do except someday we're going to have to just load up and drive down there to Austin and take over.
We need to get militant.
No, you know what's happening.
I'm to the point of thinking that's the only conclusion left. The ballot box does not work anymore.
This is one of the things that's happening in this country, and you've hit on it. It's a key thing that people need to understand, and that is that the governments at all levels are losing legitimacy because fewer and fewer people are voting, and they're realizing that voting doesn't make any difference because no matter who you vote for, you get somebody who doesn't represent your interests. They're bought off by establishment interests. As more and more money has been transferred to the federal government, the states have simply become administrative
governors,
levels.
regional governors.
Essentially just administrators who pass federal money down to local
And the
municipalities.
federal government's the Death Star.
And it's the local governments that do a lot of the dirty work for the federal government. And the local governments are so dependent on these rebates from the federal government because they can't raise the money locally, that they are in effect being deputized as federal agents.
Yep.
And what's happening is people are losing sovereignty, we are losing democracy in this country, and as the government arms itself and disarms us, we are headed for a totalitarian society.
Fellas, let me just say, I work for a local law firm here in town. I work with people who are, you know, as usual, they're liberal, but you know these folks are beginning to get like us. They're starting to look up and come out of their shells and say, hey, you know, maybe there's something to this business about tax
they're not
cuts.
liberal. They're loving.
And let me tell you, I think they're beginning. A lot of them that I work there with, I believe that secretly they probably would vote conservative if they bother to vote, or maybe they don't bother to vote for the same reasons we don't, or a lot of folks don't vote, and that's they just think what's the use, but I think there are a lot of those folks that are getting the message and starting to see the light that again look at it and say, well, what difference does it make? We get these pretenders in here, and we want to get the people here that want to make a change and make a difference, and then something happens when they get up there in the State House or up there in Washington.
The government's too big. Anytime something is half of everything, so what if we send good people up there like Ron Paul? They're just absorbed by the system. We've got to start. See, that's the thing. Government isn't being cut; it's growing. But then the Sunday morning shows, like this week formerly with David Brinkley, tell us, well, government's been cut. The people have spoken. Clinton at his inaugural address or at his acceptance speech, he said things like, government is not the answer. Government is not the problem. Well, what does that mean? The status quo. The status quo is rapid governmental growth and control. So that's where we're left. And
this is why I think the Republicans are probably going to get slaughtered in 1998, because if you look at the electoral map, you're going to see that people elected Republicans in '94 thinking they were going to get less government, thinking that they were going to get expanded rights, thinking that they were going to get big tax cuts, and that they were going to get a whole bunch of other things that they want.
That's what I was going to say. I mean to declare victory.
And what's going to happen is that these people who voted for the Republicans in '94, these 10 million people who came out of nowhere, are not going to show up at the polls, and we're going to end up with 200 Republicans in the Congress, about 240 Democrats, probably still have about 52 Republicans in the Senate. You're going to have a minority of Republican governors around
more
the country.
wiretaps, more foreign money pouring in.
I was shocked that Lamar Smith voted for in the last Congress, gave his vote of yay to that bill that included wiretapping authority for our local and federal people without a warrant, mass blocks of people when they're really after one guy.
1.5 million wiretaps at 4-day intervals.
It's so guys, I keep what you're doing. There's some of us out here that feel just as enthusiastic and angry, but frankly, I'm starting to run out of gas on this. This last section is really depressed. So,
sir, I appreciate your call.
Yeah, thank you.
Let me real fast, and then Brian will be back just in 1 second. I want to do a diatribe just for a few minutes here. I want to tell people something. Let me tell you something out there. What we're saying is absolutely true. We are giving you solutions. We're pointing to world history. You don't let strong men get in control, and you don't let power consolidate in too few hands unless it's free market. And we are not in a free market anymore. More and more power gets in fewer and fewer hands. The fact is the middle class is being destroyed. And I want to tell you something. We're going to be victorious. unless we have a nuclear war or something. And you know why the good people will be victorious? Because scumbags can never hold it together. Look what happened to all the other command and control economies where thugs rule. It gets to a certain point, like Brian was saying in North Korea, they can't even feed themselves. They can't even feed half their population. Mass starvation's going on there. That's why it works that way. And this is what we're going to have to understand. We have already won because they're going to fail. Government will continue its lies. It will continue to expand. But in the end, slavery will lose out because slavery just doesn't work long term. And it's not good. It's based on lies. And it's destroying everything we've built. Now, to the people out there that are so brainwashed emotionally to all the little buzzwords, get out of your shell. The government is not your friend. Quit associating your power with the government and the bureaucrats. Quit associating your power out there with Kirk Watson and people like that who could care less about you, and Ronnie Reynolds to boot. Both machine candidates. So we've won the battle. We're going to win the battle. And who is we? Individuals that want to raise their families like they choose. And that's what we've got to talk about. That's what we've got to be involved in. Now, Brian, go ahead and give it a shot.
Well, no, the point you're making is a little bit overstated, I think. You've got...
we have to overstate it.
No, I think what you're going to find is that governments have actually become much better at sucking the resources out of a country, and enslavement is actually much easier to do now because you have high technology means of extracting money from people's bank accounts and everything. And
explain what advertisement does, because on the phone today with you, you were talking to me about how advertisement, how it sells insecurity, how it sells inadequacy, makes us feel insecure. Look what it's done to the women's movement.
Well, what it
totally
does,
co-opted.
No, what it does to people is it says the in crowd is over here.
That's right.
And they're much better than you. And if you want to join this in crowd over here, you have to buy these products, or you have to be like the people in these.
You want to be a sniveling nothing like Kirk Watson. Start learning how to screw the taxpayers.
No, they don't say if you want to be a sniveling nothing. They say, hey, if you want to be really cool and in, you do what the people on TV say.
I know.
And that's the purpose of advertising.
Maybe humans just deserve this.
Well, no, it's to associate the products with desirable lifestyles and outcomes.
And what is the product? Big government, endlessly.
Well, if it's big government, it might be that, but it could be cigarettes, it could be cars, it could be anything.
And who's buying the cigarettes more successfully now? The youth and women, because it's been proven for your advertisement dollar, women and youth are the best to sell to. And that's not an attack against feminists. It's not an attack against women. The simple fact, going back to any great propagandist, they know that your best advertisement dollar is targeted to women and children.
Emotional appeals work better with women, they always have, because women are more likely to be swayed by a good emotional appeal than
a man. A bunch of women out there.
No, that is a biological fact. That women, women have historically and culturally and biologically been swayed far more by emotional arguments than men have, and that's why for millennia, men have been generally portrayed as the mind people and the people who set the ideals, the people who stay the course, and women have always been known as the body people, the love people, the feeling people.
Now wait,
and it's not a sexist stereotype.
Let me qualify something though. Let me qualify that though before people get really mad at us. And I want to put up the comment line. I know I'll get a bunch of attacks for this. This is a biological fact. We're not saying who's better of the sexes. Humans are one. You know, it takes both sexes to get together to recreate the next generation. The fact is, if they think this is a lie and they emotionally refuse to listen to this right now, why then, if they call up any advertisement agency or anybody who's in advertisement, they all know this to be true because women are the center of the culture. Where the women go, men follow because, women are the center of society, and that's why all advertisement is targeted at them and at the youth because that is the minds that are more easy to get a hold of and mold, and for the advertisement dollar, you get more back. That's why all the advertisement, 90% of it, is geared. And that's a fact. I've had marketing, and anybody who knows anything, if you deny that, you're brainwashed. Why is the advertisement establishment targeting you women? Why do they sell 10 times as much product?
Women are far more swayed by
make you feel inadequate.
Arguments.
Look, it's not men like me that are, Naomi Wolf and people and Gloria Steinem in their books say that men cause anorexia and that hundreds of thousands of women die a year more than cancer.
Lies.
Well, wait, exactly. That we want them to starve to death and that we want them to die. I love women. And that we want women to be anorexic. Excuse me, it's the Paris and the New York fashion scene that want women to be 6'2" with their ribs showing because women will never look like that on average, so they can make women feel inadequate because they don't look like zombies. Then they can sell them more products.
Well, actually, there's another theory on that,
But Naomi Wolf says that I cause anorexia.
Well, maybe you do. I don't know.
But
at any rate,
there's
another theory on that
it's
too.
cosmopolitan.
And that is that the women's fashions are generally designed by homosexual men, and they want women who look like teenage boys. So there's something to that, I think.
Well, it's just it's just on a natural average for women, and so it's very it's.
Well, hello, folks. It's Mike Hanson. I'm sorry to interrupt your viewing here on YouTube. What we're trying to do is get all these VHS tapes before they go bad. If you see right here, they're already starting to go bad. So we're doing the best we can to get them, these thousands of tapes up on YouTube before they completely go bad, which they are pretty well going bad already. You see how it flicked? I'm live on the air. You see how it's starting to mess up at the bottom and flicker every once in a while. That means they're getting really, really old. So what we're doing is we've hired some people. We've got a bunch of expensive equipment, and we're getting them uploaded to either Mike Hanson Archives. Be sure to subscribe to Mike Hanson Archives, Hanson Archives, Waco Archives, or the newest one, Trailer Park Show Archives. And if you would like to contribute $25 for this effort, I will send you a copy of my book that I wrote, Bohemian Grove, Cult of Conspiracy. Just, if you can see that, send it to 901 St. Joseph Street, Gonzales, Texas, 78629. Or you can call us and leave a message, and somebody will call you back and get your credit card, and we'll send you a signed copy out there. 830-672-3089. So we'll get right back to either Jeff Davis, Alex Jones, Steve Lane, whoever's on right now from 25 years ago. We're trying this, I think it's a good effort to try to save this history. This is history, folks. You know, where are you going to see this again from 95? I was the producer for Jeff Davis and Alex Jones for 15 years, from 1995 to 2010, and we have a lot of tapes. I know Alex had a lot of tapes, but he left them out in the garage or something, and they completely ruined. So getting this history up, I think, is very important, and I'm making it a goal in my life. Hopefully, somebody said, that's going to take you 20 years to get all that stuff. Well, no, if we can get a little donations, we can go ahead and hire some more people and get it up faster. But the tapes are deteriorating very quickly, as you can see every once in a while right here. That means these VHS tapes, these old VHS, if you're young, you probably don't even know what these VHS tapes are. But you know, you got to keep them in a cool place and a clean place. Some of them are very dirty, so we're trying to get them up. All righty, thanks a lot, and God bless, folks. And call us and help us if you can. Now here's Alex.
These are emaciated models.
No, but just stop and look at throughout history. It's men who've stayed the course and not been swayed by emotional arguments. You know, you don't send a bunch of women out to build something because they won't keep it together long enough to get it done. You send men out to do it. You don't send women out to, you know, run a corporation or run some big enterprise. It's going to take many people organizing and a lot of resources and people over a long period of time.
I disagree with you on that. I believe that there are a lot of women who are a lot smarter than me.
Perhaps
and
there
who
are.
But I think there is a dynamic there is a dynamic, let's say in war. If we're going to have a military...
It's not just war, it's business, it's engineering, it's science, it's a number of other things.
But
women have traditionally not stayed the course. That's not something that they are moved to do. It's not something that has emotional appeal.
But now we're back to the chicken or the egg. People will deny that, but then look at the fact. Well, then why then, in this world where people believe in evolution and everything, why then are women not the dominant force? See, that's what I mean.
Women are the nurturers of the young. That's the evolutionary advantage that women have.
Oh, they're incredible. Women, I totally bow down. I mean, it's not like I'm not sitting here knocking women. I just can't believe.
I'm not either.
But
pointing out
they think that women think that they, on average, have gained all this power and have moved forward.
They have.
Well, but they're being co-opted by a bunch of corrupt European banks who are being manipulated. It's a joke. I mean, it's right there for them to see. Well, let's go to some calls.
Well, if you want to weaken a society, what you do is you put the weaker members on top. And by putting the women on top, you can bring down a society. You know, this is one of the things that brought down Rome, it brought down Greece, it brought down the Persians, and it's bringing down America. There's no question about it.
Well, I don't want to...
You look at the countries that are in the ascendancy, they are all male-dominated. China, Japan, Korea, Taiwan, Vietnam, even countries like India.
Well, I see.
Malaysia.
But you're not agreeing with the horrible abuses of women in those countries.
I'm not agreeing with that stuff. That stuff has got to go. But
you're not saying that we should.
But if you look at the institutions in those countries that are moving ahead,
they
are clearly male-dominated.
Wait. But
you look at the institutions that are failing in this country.
But listen, you're not calling for male domination.
No, I'm saying that men are just naturally dominant.
So you are
natural predilection of men.
So you are scientifically just stating taboo facts.
These are facts that you simply see whenever you don't have governments forcing things in an unnatural configuration.
Well, that's like Time Magazine about, 3 or 4 years ago said men and women may be different. Excuse me, women have 3 times the connections between left and right hemisphere. And every time I make that assumption, that's a great plus for women. Much more intuitive on certain levels, much more,
exactly, they are more intuitive, and they have much stronger feeling and affective.
They have their bigger pluses. Right. But listen, here's the deal. Before I get assassinated by some women, I always get these calls that I just said women, when I say that, have small brains. I didn't say a woman has a small brain. I said their brain is different design. Like this computer's better for this, and that computer's better for this.
Well, if these people can't hear what you say, just hang up on them and go on to the next person.
Well, let's go to some calls. We're going till 10:30. Hello, you're on the air.
Alex, it's Tony.
How you doing, Tony?
3 quick points.
Sure. Boom them out.
All right. First of all, to these guys that call up and say that all you do is complain and don't give any solutions, here's where they need to start, okay? First of all, they need to start thinking for themselves.
I agree.
Okay. Second, educate yourself, because you're not going to get educated by the mass media or these universities. Mm-hmm. All right? Number 2, what we are talking about every week or every day that you're on, in my opinion, is this new world order and the elite taking over and controlling things.
Oh, that's a conspiracy. Leave me alone. There's never been powers never controlled things. Things just magically happen in governments.
See, in other words, big government, for the people who don't know, big government is nothing more than a puppet regime in every country for the elite, for the super rich.
You got it.
Okay, now, the third point
is I want to
thank both of you for having the courage to stand up and say these things, because you know you're going to get criticized. You know most people are not going to agree with you.
Well, I want to say this, Tony. People out there that think we're full of it, I've been talking about how some things were wrong at Waco. I didn't say David Koresh was a great guy. Last night, I said go see Waco Rules of Engagement. Even the Austin American Statesman says that it shows the feds catching things on fire. This was last Friday's Austin American Statesman, almost a week ago now. It's Waco Rules of Engagement at the Dobie Mall. It's almost a 3-hour documentary by Dan Gifford. He's a producer. I met him. He's going to be on my radio show. And right here, it shows the feds setting the fire. It's their own infrared tapes. It's incredible. And then I got calls saying, oh, so you support, on my comment line, saying, oh, so you, Mr. Jones, so you must support hurting people. You must support Koresh. No, the exact words, I'm trying to remember. The exact words were, well, I see that you're down on Janet Reno and Director Free of the FBI. So I can't believe that you're supporting that pedophile that raped 10-year-old girls. Okay, let's say the media's right, which is always lying, so who knows, that David Koresh was doing that to those little girls. Does that mean that we should burn all the little girls up? Does that mean that we should pump in a banned gas and then show the FBI set it on fire? All I'm saying is just go see this movie. So that's the kind of thing I get from people. It's like they just want to believe something simple. They want to be handed something. So maybe we deserve slavery. I don't know.
Maybe some people do, yeah.
Okay, so once again, for these people that say all you do is complain and no solutions,
sure,
think for yourself and world order, world order, world order. That is what's going on. Educate yourself as to what is really going on.
Tony, isn't the world order just a wrestling team in that fake wrestling? Wait. George Bush calls it a new world order. Margaret Thatcher called it a new world order. Now it's called globalist community. They changed the name. But yeah, and what does it mean? It means an open high sea worldwide for corrupt interests to screw the people of countries.
Well, it's just like the two of you have been saying, is what they want to do is they want to put everybody in a slot. Big government wants to put everybody in a particular slot. They think that they're the only ones that can think, that they're the only intellectuals on the planet. You know, we're just a bunch of knuckleheads that need to be ordered around. Okay, that's their whole mentality.
And I'll tell you something also that's even more dangerous, and it's something that you just said. They want us all in slots because I have worked for large animal vets. I've been in ranching. My family owns, large portion of property in Texas, and we've been ranchers and farmers since 1830 here in Texas. And it's very obvious that you corral certain groups together. You know, the sheep are over here, the cows are over here. You divide them up so you can run them, so you can cut them with your horses and your dogs. You can control them. So you're in the radical gay group, you're in the radical feminist group, you're in the so-called conservative group that that only bows down to the Republicans, and then they never cut your taxes. Or you're in this group, you're in that group, you're in the education group, and then they teach each group to follow a certain set of buzzwords. And then when the media says to you, your group's doing this, you run to get in the group because you feel safe like a sheep in the group. So that's a great point. We need to quit being directed as groups because that's what they want us to be.
Exactly. Okay, thanks a lot. Keep up the good work.
Thanks, Tony. Let's go another call. Next caller. You're on the air.
Hi, Alex.
Yeah.
Hi, I called you a couple weeks ago when you had the gun guy on, and I told you that I disagree with you on a lot of things, but you were pretty nice to me, so I thought I'd venture another call.
Sure.
The reason I'm calling is to touch on two things. I work for one of our state legislators, and I wanted to talk about some things that you said about bureaucracy and one thing that you said about representation. Your guest talked about how your elected officials don't represent you, and just let me tell you that I was quoting what you said,
no,
but let me just make the point, please.
Okay.
From my perspective, a lot of times our constituency is real split on issues. We do listen to what they say, but it's very hard to represent everyone when everyone that voted for you doesn't agree.
Okay. Who are they going to listen to? Okay, Alex. Well, hold on.
Let me just
me that pulls up in my little car. Well, hold on. Me that pulls up in my little car and goes in and pulls the, and hands in my ballot, or the guy that gives them $100,000. Go ahead.
Well, I'm talking about
I'm sorry,
the different
go ahead,
people that pull, the different people that go to the ballot box, because all the U's in our district don't always agree on things.
Okay. This is what I wanted to ask you about. If you've got a big split in your district where there's a clear disagreement on policy, do you think it is better to pass a bad law than no law at all?
No, and in fact, I personally feel like I'm very lucky to work for a member who really tries to do the right thing and doesn't listen to special interests. And in fact, sometimes he does vote, and we don't necessarily have the majority of our constituents who've called us being in support of that position, but he does it because he really thinks that it's the right thing.
So when those lobbyists come, well, that's...
Okay, I don't know who he is, so I can't really talk about it.
So we're in great shape, is what you're saying.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying that not everybody up there is totally sold out to special interests, and the issue of representation is a little bit more complex than just do they represent the people who vote for them, or do they do what the lobbyists say?
No, it's do they vote for things that benefit the people in the district more than they benefit the establishment.
Take Kirk Watson. He got more money than anybody else.
Kirk Watson isn't a legislator. So
I understand.
He's
an elected. He's mayor. I understand that. What I'm saying is, he's a council member with 2 votes. What I'm trying to say here is that Kirk Watson got a bunch of money from outside the state, not just outside the city.
Right.
This guy is just a total, he's going to give us a bunch of bond elections. That's all he's about. He's a technician. He's a puppet meant to raise our taxes.
Yeah, unfortunately, because of the session being in, I haven't been able to pay as much attention to local politics as I'd like, but a lot of times people will give somebody money because they represent certain things or because they support certain things. So if lobbyist X gives me money and I tend to vote the way that you would think that I would vote if I were selling out to him, sometimes it's because he chose to support me because I already said that this is what my position is on something.
No, I understand that, and that happens a lot. And what happens too often, though, is that somebody gets too used to being in Congress or too used to being in a legislative body, and so they start saying, well, to stay here, I'm going to have to start voting the way the establishment over there votes. Right.
Compromise.
There is a whole lot of compromise that goes on in the Texas legislature.
And compromise, being pragmatic, is taught in the universities as a great virtue. If someone's going to kill your wife, just say no, just stab her several times.
Extreme.
But I have to paint these pictures for people. I mean, this word compromise is not a holy word.
Well, look at the Republicans.
It means give up. Don't stand for anything.
Republicans in Washington.
Don't stand for anything.
They came in saying they were for tax cuts. They voted for 2 tax increases since they've been there,
That's
and no
compromise.
tax cuts.
That's compromise.
And
for
they
you.
say this is bipartisanship.
Government is not compromising. It's getting bigger. So government needs to compromise and stop its growth now. I'll compromise. I'll compromise right now. Will government just please quit growing? No, it's going to keep growing.
Well, actually, there's a lot of people who are involved in writing the state budget who agree with you.
Well,
but when you have a
take the
population
American
that's
statesman.
growing.
Hold on. Take the.
Hear what she has to
Go
say.
ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that when your population is growing, like Texas's population is growing, then government spending is going to increase. Even if you don't increase the level
That's
of
what
spending,
I'm saying.
your rate of spending is going to increase.
But governments have been growing at about 3 times the rate of the economy and population growth all over the country.
There's no checks and balances.
Now, Texas has been a little bit behind that. I'll give Texas credit. It's only been growing at about 8 or 9% a year.
But what are we supposed to do, Brian? What are we supposed to do? Answer the caller. What's your first name?
Hope.
Hope.
Hope with an H.
Hope.
Hope, growth, and opportunity.
Yeah. What are we supposed to do in this world when the Oswald Statesman, I've showed it to you a dozen times, called Governor Bush's tax plan a tax cut? What do they mean? It cuts property taxes and then gives us 100 new taxes, which will be much more, and then calls it, well, it'll save the average family $22 a year. That's a lie. It's a huge tax increase.
Well, actually, that's not what the Statesman said. It said that it would save the average family money, but then they turned around in the next paragraph and said, but it will raise $11 billion from the state, for the state. And you say, well, wait a minute.
It's double talk. It's double speak.
Who are they cutting these taxes
well,
for? Well,
I'm not actually the person in our office who's handling the tax bill, but my understanding of it is that they're trying, right now we primarily fund the public school system through property taxes. They're trying to change it so that we primarily fund it.
They just want both. They want higher sales taxes and things. That's all it's about. And fees on partnerships and you name it.
Right. Well, it's switching out who you get the money from. And
well, I think it's really switching out what pockets you're taking the money out of.
Right, that's what I mean. Instead of taking money primarily from homeowners, and you have to look at it as it all comes out of the same pocket.
That's a small cut.
That's not really true because what
it's really meant for big business.
What you're doing is you're saying we're not going to take it from the homeowners in the form of property taxes, but every time you buy something, you're going to pay that tax, and you're going to pay more taxes than you did before. But instead of paying it in one lump annual sum, you're going to pay it every time you go and buy something. You're going to pay a little bit here and a little bit there.
And the big companies will be absolutely, see, the big companies are the ones that pushed the Democrats in Bush to have this tax plan because they're tired. They usually get tax abatements. They usually get tax discounts or pay a smaller amount of property tax, and then that's hundreds of millions of dollars and billions of dollars here in the state. Now, they're going to get huge tax cuts. They're going to be able to buy their goods and services out of state and avoid all these taxes. It's going to be passed on to us, the consumer. So it's really about a tax cut for the rich, the ultra-rich, and a tax increase for us.
I'm not sure how much of a tax cut it's going to be for the very rich, but it is a general tax increase for most people. And what you're doing is you are saying that, okay, instead of paying it out of your left pocket, we're going to take a little bit of time out of your right pocket.
Well, I don't pay property taxes right now directly
because
I don't. Well, I rent. I don't own. and so I don't pay them directly.
Okay.
So the tax bill, as I understand it right now, is
If
probably
you live in an
raise...
apartment, that's part of your rent.
Oh, I understand that. But the tax bill, as I understand it right now, will raise sales taxes, and if I go to get my car fixed, it would probably raise.
It'll tax
taxes
partnerships. It'll tax everything.
Well, actually, partnerships is one of the things that may not end up being
Well,
taxed.
we'll see.
That's in controversy.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it'll
listen, I
tax
appreciate
a
your
wide
call.
range of goods and services.
Well, I wanted to. There was one other issue that I wanted
Sure,
to.
because I'm fixing to roll a tape.
I'm sorry?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. The other was, you talked about bureaucrats sitting around throwing spitballs at the walls and not doing very much. And I have an opportunity to work with a lot of state agencies and people in state agencies, and I just wanted to make 2 points with this. One is that people expect accountability for government dollars, but to do that, you've got to have the accountability systems in place, and that's generally what's known as bureaucracy. But the flip side of that is the more you bureaucratize an agency, the less flexible it is.
Okay.
So there's kind of a trade-off between
So
accountability
you just
and
philosophized.
flexibility.
What's the solution?
Well,
You've just
just
given
a
us a
minute.
bunch
No,
of questions.
I think she's made a valid point that the more monitoring you do, the less actual mission critical work you're doing.
Right, and it's a trade-off. I mean, we want accountability, and at the same time, you want flexibility, and
I
it's
think
real
really
hard to
what
strike the
people are looking
balance.
for now
But
is
the
not-
other thing is, the other point with that is that you're right. There are some people who work for government who don't carry their weight and don't belong there. But I have run across some people who are really sharp and who work
That's
really
great.
hard.
Hope. But listen, it's not a question of the way things are now or later. The government's going to be everything soon. So we've got to decide to just be conscious of it, that in a few years, pretty soon, everything's going to be government. So it's not a give and take. It's not a thing of compromise here. We're fighting for the free market life of this country right now.
I don't agree with you that everything is going to be the government.
It's a simple fact. Congressional Budget Office numbers and Clinton's own numbers. In 19 years, the average person will be paying an 82% tax rate, federal. And that's at current budget expenditures.
Well, that assumes that the
Appreciate that
entitlement
call.
programs keep growing at the same rate they've been
You
growing.
bet. Ron, I want to thank you for being here. I'm fixing to play a tape, and then I will be back. The program goes to 10:30 tonight. I appreciate people being here. Brian, do you have any closing comments to the people out there?
No, just thank you very much for letting me be on, and maybe we can do this again sometime. I'm sorry we didn't get to all your callers.
Well, the thing I want to say to people
I
out
think
there...
Hope was making some very good points about
She
government.
was.
And, I think what people are really looking for in government is not accountability, it's effectiveness. And one of the problems with government is that when a program fails, it gets more money because they come back and say, well, gee, the reason we failed is we were underfunded.
See,
and they get away with that.
That's kind of the thing.
So there's no incentive to
back to the
succeed.
same
There's
thing.
no incentive to do something right.
You want to... Exactly. There's an incentive to keep screwing up
Yep.
because then they get more and always inflate their budgets so they get more the next year. And then they say to us, again, you got to have government to put the fires out, to fill the potholes, and so the police can communicate with people. Excuse me, that should be, like you said, the first thing that's paid for.
Well, the first reason for government is public safety.
You got it.
And if government can't
And look,
do
there is
that,
no
it has
public
no
safety. Look at crime.
government has no legitimacy in this country anymore. That's why fewer than 20% of the people vote in a typical election.
People know.
And as the guy said earlier, if you can't solve this with ballots, ultimately it will be solved with bullets.
So what's your solution?
Just like it's been solved
What's one
everywhere
specific
else.
solution, real fast?
One specific solution is that people have got to stop thinking that one more government program is going to help them. They've got to stop buying the argument that if we only pay a little bit more in taxes,
our fair share,
it's going to help us, and that, oh my God, there's just this terrible problem out there that we just need, the government to do something about.
And
how many times have you heard someone say, don't you wish the government would do something about that? Or
Yeah.
I think it's about time the government did something about
more key
that.
point, too.
And what they mean is, I don't want to take any responsibility for this. I want someone else to take responsibility.
One more key point, too, is...
And that's another point one of your callers made.
Well, the callers are fantastic, even when they are disagreeing. That's what it really comes down to in the end equation, is even more dastardly than that, and a bigger problem. It's class warfare and class envy. But the truth of it is the super elite, the super rich, have got the so-called poor, disenfranchised, unwashed masses looking at the middle class as the problem. And the middle class is being destroyed in the process.
The middle class is being taxed to death to pay for the poor because
the poor
rich
think the middle class are rich.
Look at what
They're not.
the rich have gotten off the tax rolls.
That's it.
They used to pay
Rockefeller
90%.
pays zero.
They used to pay 90%. They are now paying almost nothing on what they own. And if you look at what their strategic thrust is in government right now?
Communism.
It's to get
Yeah,
off
it's total
of
government. Total government for us,
out
no
of
government for
inheritance.
them.
No,
No
out of
government
inheritance
for them,
tax,
total government for
and
us.
to get out of capital gains tax. So that means the people who earn their money through interest and do not earn it through labor, and people who inherit their money are not going to pay any taxes.
I appreciate you being here, man.
Okay.
You
Take
made
care,
a lot of
Alex.
fantastic points. Let's go ahead and roll tape, and I'll talk to you during the break.
Take care.
People, I'll be back just a few minutes. I'll be taking y'all's phone calls. This is a tape from last night's broadcast. It's pretty funny. I'm going to roll about 5 minutes. And I'll be right back. We are passionate. We believe what we're saying. That's why we argue. That's why we yell and scream. We're not these zombie automatons out there that take orders from headquarters. We'll be right back with more of The Real Spin. And that's a major, serious problem. And we need to do something about that. We need to think about that. We need to know that this is very, very destructive to our entire economy. You know, money doesn't grow on trees, and tax money comes from real people. You know, people all the time write these books about how to get stuff out of the government, and you know, and if you complain about the government, people laugh at you and say, you're just not learning how to use it. You're not part of the system. Get to be part of the system. That system is a parasite. That system bleeds the hard-working people. And that system does not create anything. The IRS has to take houses from people. The IRS has to come after people to get that money. And the IRS has no rules governing it. It does whatever it wants. It comes after you like you're a criminal and looks at you like you're guilty until proven innocent rather than innocent until proven guilty. It's a fascistic state now. And that's the IRS's own avowed principle now, is to come after anybody at any cost. They told my dad many years ago in '86, whenever they were harassing him and changed the tax law, he had paid the taxes correctly. And he beat the IRS, by the way. He had paid his taxes correctly. They changed the law in '86. So we want hundreds of thousands of dollars in back taxes. He went to him, he said, you know this is wrong. He showed it to him right in black and white that they had done something that was wrong. They said, we don't care, Mr. Jones, we're white-collar criminals. Just to shock him, just to let him know. Now, I'm not somebody who's mad and hurt. My family's successful. I'm moderately successful. 23 years old, got a radio show, got these TV shows, but I get paid for the radio show. I'm proud of that. Just got my time expanded to 3 hours. I'm an oil painter, have a good social life. I'm happy, okay? I'm not one of these disenfranchised, impotent people or whatever that everybody thinks. I mean, not me personally, but everybody thinks if you're against the government or you're against taxes, you must be an unhappy person that isn't part of the system. I'm part of the system, and I'm tired of seeing the system that I'm part of screwing people, okay? So the state workers, they get their tax, they get more money, and they're always getting more money. And at the school systems, the teachers get less, but don't worry, all the big bureaucrats, all the school planners, and all of them, they're going to get more money. And the principals and the superintendents, they're going to get more money. And the big New York banks that sell us these big bond packages just to build more big buildings, but then let them fall apart so they can build more buildings with big bond packages. That's what it's all about. And now we come, and I'll make fun of him later again. Let's get a close shot in there. To Kirk Watson. There he is. This guy always is going. He's just so into himself because he's this big bureaucrat. He's the mayor, and he got more money than anybody else from outside sources, from outside the state and outside Austin. And he just goes around and gets into himself all the time. And it's so good to be Kirk Watson. Kirk Watson, you're a petty bureaucrat. Look at your life. Spent being a lawyer, spent playing inside the corrupt system, spent being passive and not caring that we become a corrupt society from top to bottom, and believing that nothing is set and that there is no destiny. I tell you, Kirk Watson, our new mayor, you are a travesty, sir. And I'll say that because I've researched you a little bit. You, sir, are the machine candidate. 3 months ago, I told people on this show that you would win the election. Why? Because the Austin American Statesman was behind you. Why? Because you got most of the foreign money. Foreign out of the state. That's right. You got much more than Ronnie Reynolds. Max Knopfsinger got 0. You, sir, were the machine candidate. Ronnie Reynolds was the second string or third string machine candidate. And I want to talk to those corrupt individuals like Kirk Watson, our mayor. You are petty, sir. You are small. I'm not coming after you because you're a big guy here in town because that'll get me notoriety. No. I come after you because you've got the smirk in your eye. You've got the Bill Clinton gleam. You've got that sick, conceited look in your eyes. You got that sidestep. You look like a crab when you walk. You're a danger to this community because guess what Kirk Watson means? More bond elections, more corrupt money, more Austin money going out of the city to New York where the big banks are that control this guy so that he'll sit there and back up more bond elections so more of our money goes out of state and they build more crap here. The more money we throw at the schools, the worse they get. The more money we throw at all these social programs, the worse they get, because they're not meant to succeed. They're meant to perpetuate the weakness of the community so that it takes more and more government. You ever notice that? There's nothing scientific about the system now. Government doesn't work, welfare doesn't work, who cares? They're going to tell us it works. They're going to tell us it's wonderful. All day long. Doesn't matter to them. Because they know best and we don't know. So next time you see Kirk Watson, and he's looking at you like this, he's smiling at you. Let's get the close shot in there. He's sitting there looking at you, and he's got this look. He just is gleaming. He just radiates this confidence. And you know how easy it is to do that? To go around and be fake and say, thanks a lot, Patty. Jim, thanks for that vote. Yes. Oh, remember Kirk Watson's commercial? We deserve in green belts for our environment and a city that's stronger. Not a negative campaign, but one that knows what's good for the people. I'm Kirk Watson for mayor. No, he should have said, I'm Kirk Watson, machine candidate, controlled by out-of-state money. And I can't wait to smile at you over the next period of time while I'm mayor, while I'm increasing your taxes and making you love it all the time and telling you it's an investment in community. I'm Kirk Watson. I love to bend you over and pop you right in the keister. I'm sorry. You know, that's what we're talking about. Kirk Watson is a corrupt pump. He's nothing. He's a little man. He's a little puppet. He is controlled. He is totally controlled. This is not a conspiracy. It's a fact. Since when were you told not to, to totally trust your politicians? It's time we do something. Now, in a few minutes, we'll start going to your calls. See, we got a bunch of calls. We've got to screen those. Phone number is 477-2288. So, all right, we're back. Thanks to Brian Lynch for being here. We just really got into it, and that's how the program goes on Thursday nights when I have guests. We have them on for the first hour, and then I run some tape in the last 15 minutes or so. It's me. We had a bunch of callers online, but they might have thought the show was over, so they dropped off. Feel free to call 477-2288. We'll get you live on air. And there's also my comment line. Let's go to a caller. Hello, caller, you're on there. How's it going, caller? Well, that caller's not there. Let's go to the next callers after we screen them. Hello, caller, you're on there. Hello, caller? Well, these are some... Hello, caller, you're on there. Oh, that's the passive... Hello, caller?
Hello?
Yes, you're on.
I just wanted to back up what you were saying about Channel 1 earlier. Most
Tell
people...
us what Channel 1 is.
It's like a news that they show to the school each day, a complete waste of time. But people in school don't even realize what's going on with the government because Channel 1 won't tell them. It has not yet even reported on Bill Clinton doing these wrongdoings.
Taking tens of millions of dollars from the Chinese. But notice in the news today we heard about how the Republicans had taken $100,000 from Hong Kong. Yeah, look, Clinton's taken over $4 million from the communist Chinese, and then Hong Kong, which is fixing to get taken over by the Chinese, gives the Republicans a little $100,000. This is the non-communist country, free market, and we all hear about it in the news. Oh, that little peninsula or whatever, Hong Kong. Oh no, it's giving money. It's giving money to the Republicans. And again, that should not be done. But notice, there's more coverage now of the Republicans taking $100,000 from Hong Kong, fixing to get taken over by the Chinese, but there's barely any coverage about Bill Clinton and his traitorous activities.
Yeah, I noticed that tonight. I agree. But people are graduating from high school, and they don't even have any idea about this because Channel 1 won't tell them. And, they get into college and then are fed all this, socialist stuff. And isn't Kirk Watson a socialist? And for
well,
SOS
Kirk Watson's a big Democrat. We all know that. And I have nothing against him, but the guy's a travesty. I feel sorry for him. He's just a sickening little car salesman. He's just nothing. He's a nobody. But he's so dangerous because he's in the establishment and he's got all this power and he's going to raise our taxes. He's only a focus locally, and I'm letting him know now that he's mayor. Hi, I'm Alex Jones, and I guess I'm your enemy, sir, because I don't like corrupt people that lie to the people and abuse the people and smile at them while they do it. But anyways, I'm sorry.
Well, on another subject about this Oklahoma City thing.
You understand? I'm copying Kirk Watson.
Right. Okay. On this Oklahoma City thing, you said there might be a government conspiracy or government cover-up. I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you what. Tomorrow, tomorrow on cable channel 10 from 12 to 1:30 p.m. Set your VCRs. There's a program called Indictment of Oklahoma. And again, that's tomorrow on channel 10. Set your VCRs. Channel 10. It's in your show world from 12 to 1:30 p.m. Set your VCR. You'll want to see this.
Yeah. Have you noticed, though, how the prosecution...
I put it on. Do what?
How the prosecution has a big case against McVeigh.
Well, I've noticed that, not me again, Mr. Whitehurst of the FBI that used to run their lab, he came out, and it's even in this issue of April 28th, again, of Time. I have to say this again. I showed this last night. In here, he says, but they don't tell you this in here, he says that, here he is, lab scientist Frederick Whitehurst blew the whistle on nearly a score of cases, but they call it mistakes. The FBI manufactured evidence in this case. The FBI is out of control. I don't know what happened with Oklahoma City, but I'll tell you this, the media has been lying to you. On the day of the blast, they reported multiple explosions. On the seismograph information showed multiple explosions. We're not being given the whole story.
Right. One other thing before I go, did you know Channel 1 is controlled by ABC?
I don't even, look, when I was in high school, they had that damn stuff in Dallas and here, and I knew I went in there and I wasn't even that smart, but I'd sit there and I'd watch this stuff, and it was all real namby-pamby, and it was pushing big government. It was always pro-government, like 14 minutes of garbage, and I don't even know who owns it, but I'll tell you this, it was the most, not liberal, but the most establishment crap I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. And our kids should not be getting a 14-minute propaganda cast interspersed with commercials.
Right.
I mean, it's something out of science fiction.
Yeah, it's bad. Okay, well, take care.
You bet. Let's
Bye.
take some more calls. Hello, caller, you're on the air.
Yeah, Alex, how you doing? This is Vasco.
Pretty good.
I'm enjoying your show. You're doing an excellent job. Listen, this Night Talk guy that comes on...
Yeah, I don't want to talk about him. He's got a fine show.
He has a fine show?
Well, he talks about me bad on there, but hey...
I know, that's all he does is rag on your show, Jeff Davis' show,
but I
all
love
the other
that.
good
That
shows.
means I'm doing some good. Who cares? I'm on the news. I've got a radio show from 6 to 9 p.m. now on 98.9 KJFK. See, that's success. I'm moving forward.
And these are the jokers that jam up the lines for the good shows like your show and the other Jeff Davis show and the other good shows.
Well, that's fine, but let's not do them any service. Let's not talk about them. Let's let them talk about us at nauseum.
Well, how can ACTV allow these jokers to be on the air?
Well, that's their right, and actually, Chris isn't really that bad of a guy. He just is trying to do what he does, and it's cool. You know, there's been some other stuff that's gone on that I wasn't too happy about, but I don't want to get distracted. I'm just here getting the information out to people and moving forward. Let's go to another caller. Hello, you're on there.
Hello?
Yes.
This is Cynthia. I was wondering at what age you decided to go into politics?
When I was about... I didn't form my... When I was 17, I started really noticing something wasn't wrong. I started reading a lot of the famous propaganda masters' books to realize how propaganda technicians do things. I read Winston Churchill's writings. I read Joseph Goebbels' writings. I read good guys, bad guys stuff to find out how things work. I started reading some history. I didn't make my opinions, and I still haven't settled my opinions. I'm open-minded until just a few years ago. And I started noticing just a lot of garbage going on and some really dangerous trends. And so I've been involved in what I'm doing for just a year. Well, 13 months ago now, or 13 and a half months ago, I got my Access program. I've gone a long way. I've gotten a lot more professional. I'm getting better every week. I've got a lot of growing to do. About 3.5 months ago, I got hired by 98.9 KJFK, All Talk FM with Howard Stern, G. Gordon Liddy, all those big guys. And I'm on the weekend again from 6 to 9 p.m. And it's really good. And and I'm getting paid. I'm enjoying myself. I'm not getting paid for this. This is a service. It just feels good. It is good, and I'm moving forward. I'm getting a lot of support from the community.
Well, I just started watching you 2 nights ago, and I really appreciate it. And I also wondered what you thought about Rush Limbaugh.
Well, I think Rush is a pretty good guy, basically, but he does one thing that's unconscionable. He will sit there and talk about the servants of the establishment and make fun of them all day and make them look dumb. And there are servants of the establishment on the right, too, that are dupes, but not as many as the left. The left is just tailor-made for this kind of crap. He never hits to the core of the root. He never talks about international finance. He never talks about... He could pick up Forbes, the March 24th, 1997 issue on page 46 and read right there that the majority of our debt's being bought by foreign banks, central governments of other countries. But he never gets to the core issue of our sovereignty being destroyed. So I'm a little bit angry at Rush Limbaugh.
Okay, well, thank you, and I really enjoy your...
I appreciate that call. But listen, Rush, you know, he's a pioneer. He had a lot more, you know, larger cojones. The New York Times Magazine said of Rush Limbaugh, it said he opened the path for the G. Gordon Liddy's and the and then the other, you know, talk show people. So he kind of did some things that were taboo, but he's still establishment. So Rush has done a lot of good for people. He's also done some things that are wrong. But hey, who am I to throw a stone? I've got major problems with my delivery, but I'm getting better every day. And so that's what I'm doing. And we'll put up the comment line in a few minutes. If you want to give me your questions or comments, feel free to call it. We got plenty of calls here. I'm fixing to go to those. But the comment line only takes 50 calls, and it fills up. So call me tomorrow. Call my comment line tomorrow after I've taken some of the calls off. I'm going to get it expanded maybe to 100 calls because I get so many calls on my comment line. We'll go ahead and put that up in a second. But again, I don't dislike people like Kirk Watson. He's just one example. He's a carbon copy. He's a blueprint for the new wave of bureaucrats that are so very, very articulate, very smiley, very dangerous because they're just vessels for corruption. Again, after you plug it, Waco Rules of Engagement, go see it. If you doubt the kind of stuff I'm saying, you think it's all a conspiracy, whatever, go check it out. Go see it for yourself. Go see the federal agencies, BATF, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, setting it on fire. Also, go see them doing just myriads of things. And it all shows it. I'm not going to tell you about the film. Stay through all 3 hours. It's almost 3 hours long. The finale, the incredible revelations come later in the program. Let's take a call. Go ahead. Hello, caller.
Hello there, boy.
How you doing?
Hey, I told the guy on the screen, I said, tell them this is Alex's boss.
It is my boss. It is Shark Man.
We'll put you on hold then.
Yes, sir. How you doing, Shark? This is Shark Man, the program director at KJFK.
Yes, sir.
How you doing, big guy?
I think what you're trying to say about Kirk Watson is he's a puppet. He's a puppet just like most of these guys are.
That's right.
For the bigger, you know, there's a bigger, there's somebody there's somebody with his hand up there, you know what I'm saying?
You got it. Yeah,
and that's
up there.
That's usually like Dow Chemical or something, you know?
No, we're extremists. No, we should not, you know. That's what I always say. I always liken it to a used car salesman. I have to use this analogy. It's like you walk on a used car lot, and the used car salesman walks up smiling at you and says, "Hey, if you ask me any questions about this car, you're a conspiracy theorist and get off the lot." Americans should question our leaders.
You know, the honest approach with those kind of guys is they could smile and say, "Hey, I'm going to screw you."
That's right.
That'd be nicer, you know? But
Yep.
Anyway,
Fantastic.
sheep's and wolves' clothing.
You got it. Well, what's the solution, Shark Man?
I don't know. Park a Ryder truck outside. I don't know.
No. Now, I tell you, that's one good thing about us. Notice we don't sit here and say we have all the solutions. Don't worry, the politicians...
I love that part about the solutions earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. Politicians always have these solutions for us. It's so easy. Just vote for them. Me, I'm saying we got a tough road to hoe, but we better do something because corruption is an ongoing game. We got to keep opposing it or it'll take over, and it has.
We got to keep holding that road, Alex.
Got to keep doing
it. We only got about a couple minutes left.
Yeah.
Here. So you have fun.
Well, listen, I'm flattered that the great one himself, the master program director, called in. I appreciate that, man.
Well, I'm just sitting here watching you, and they keep putting they get the close up on your head there.
Yeah.
And they're cutting you right below the chin. You look like a little talking head there.
Here, I'll do better.
You must be slouching today.
Yeah, I am kind of slouching. I had a couple cervezas. No, I'm just joking. Seriously, though. Earlier, my producer was putting up their Alex Baldwin.
I know.
Yeah. All the ladies.
Baldwin.
Actually, that's my cousin. People really just don't know that. No,
it said some Alex Man Jones.
Yeah. I do not tell my producer what to put in there. He's hilarious.
Yeah, he's real funny. Anyhow, I'll talk to you later.
Well, it's just us extremists here, Shark.
All right, then.
Take care, big guy.
Put that gun underneath the counter.
Oh, I will.
Right,
No, but, there we go. There we go. Shark Man. He the man. Yeah, Shark's got a show after mine Saturday nights just as a hobby. He's my boss. He's the program director and more at KJFK FM radio. And again, you can hear me every Saturday from 6 to 9 p.m. now. They've expanded my time. They say my show's doing good. The lines jam up. They get comments and requests about the program. We've only got a few minutes left. Let's take a few more calls real fast. Jet fire. Let's go. Hello? You on the air? You the man. All right, next caller. We've got these little idiots doing that tonight. Hello, you're on.
Well, I go to Johnston High School, and I get the chance to watch Channel 1.
Do you enjoy the brainwashing for yourself?
No, I don't really enjoy it. I mean, a lot of times it is a waste of time, but...
Do your caregivers at the school, like Hillary Clinton, are they taking better care of you, your parents?
No. I don't like them very much, but as far, they do show some good pieces, like on China. Like I saw a show of yours a little while back about a lot of wrongdoings that are going on in China about eating children and stuff like that.
It's a fact. This is a fact.
I know where they show that. They talked about that on the show. So,
well, they only do that to suck you in. That's what the establishment does. They'll talk about FBI corruption, but then they water it down. But, when I talk about how the Chinese, and I'm not knocking the Chinese people, the Chinese government, it's a fact that worldwide, collagen that women inject in their lips and other things, collagen comes from placenta. Well, all the really rich makeup producers, I have to tell you, on the Paris scene especially, this really expensive stuff, it comes from baby parts from China because they think baby fat's real good for women's faces. But you'll never hear about that in the media. These loving Hollywood people will never tell you about that. We're fixing to run a real quick cut of tape. I don't know if that promo's set up yet, but I'm going to roll out at the end of the show. I appreciate the call, sir.
All right.
Yeah, this is a funny little piece that we put together. We're going to show it in about a minute. I appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. I had a really hot show last night. I'm kind of laid back tonight. I appreciate Brian Lynch being here. I appreciate all your calls.
Stay tuned right here for more classics on this channel here, Hanson Archives. But to fund this station, I'm offering, if you send us $25, we'll send you a signed copy of Bohemian Grove, Cult of Conspiracy. It was forwarded by Tex Mars that just recently passed away. Also, Alex Jones has a chapter in here. And that's good. There's us in our younger days. But on the address that you see, send us $25 and we will send you a signed copy, or give us a call at 830-672-3089 and you can put it on a credit card. We'll send it right out. But that's what we need to help fund this channel, folks. So help us get all the classics uploaded to YouTube. We got hundreds and hundreds of old Alex Jones and Jeff Davis and a bunch of other patriots that we need to upload. About 25-year-old tapes.
Anybody want to come up here? All right, that's it. All right, who wants to lead? Let Jeans go. Go ahead. Yes, sir. All right.